From the Spacebird Media Studios, it's Roxanne and Ace Unlimited.
Roxanne and Ace Unlimited, kind of like that box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
That is true.
Sometimes we cry, sometimes we scream, we make faces, you say something super funny, sometimes we're really serious.
Sometimes we get stuck in your teeth. I mean, it. We're excited to be back another Friday, thanks to My Brother's Cup and Birmingham Mortgage Group. All the talk, the big Oscars. I mean, I don't think there was really any surprise of the winners, but Robert Downey Jr., his acceptance speech was the greatest. I mean, for him to thank his younger self for the decisions he made, to then put him in the roles that he was in, to then be standing on that stage. I mean, I love his story. I mean, for those that don't know, you can Google it and we won't bore you with it here. But again, God uses things to bring us to where we're going. And it's such a great representation of that.
I thought this Oscars was just kind of weird. It was weird. And Al Pacino, I know he's 83,
Right.
but you're giving away Best Picture. They've deliberately had you be the last presenter for the biggest award, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you expect, I don't know, him to have thought about what he was going to say. Instead, it was sort of like, well, you saw it.
Yeah.
Sort of like, in my eye, I see Oppenheimer. And we're like, what?
Well, and here's the thing. I think they should really, the Academy needs to be evaluating how much alcohol are these people ingesting over a 5-hour window, right? Because not everything is televised. So by the time they drank pregame, then maybe drank some on the runway, maybe they drank some once they got in, they've been backstage, there's champagne for other awards. I mean, how intoxicated was he by the time he even read that to even walk out on stage? So
maybe that's what it was. Now, Ryan Gosling and the whole Barbie and the dance in the tux was absolutely hilarious. Emma Stone ripping her dress out. I think Emma may have been a little touched too. I mean, she was genuinely shocked. Yeah. I mean, shocked out of her mind to win. I may have to see that movie now.
It's weird. I mean, she's amazing.
I won't like it.
Don't get me wrong. She's amazing. It's weird. It's just a weird story. So
I'll just turn it off. I won't like, if it's weird, I don't have a lot of patience. So it's probably why I haven't seen it yet is that it's weird. But, you know, and I normally watch for the clothing and nothing was really that great. Florence Pugh's dress looked like water droplets. That was pretty, but it wasn't anything that stood out. And then, you know, clothing, you know, John Cena without any was funny. And you know, he had a privacy. Everybody thinks he truly was nude, but he did have a nude privacy pouch front and back.
Yeah.
Because the last thing they want to do with that many viewers is to really have an accident, a Janet Jackson moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and I will say, I love that they, within this big, serious, you know, award show, they can have those comedic moments. Even the moment with Michael Keaton and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito having a little Batman moment. That was awesome for me. I was like, yeah. But I will say, out of any award shows, normally it's usually, you know, a couple of the best pictures I've seen and usually all the animated movies. That's about all I can pull from. Maybe Song of the Years. I know those songs to choose from. But if you have the aspirations and that's what you want to do, the last couple of years has been such a great buffet of talent and roles. You know, it's not the cookie cutter expectation, but it's these great rags to riches or someone who's been working so diligent and consistent for years that you're like, yes, finally they're getting their due. Which, not that you do those things or anything for awards, but when you're recognized by your peers for your creative art and for your hard work and dedication and in some cases physical transformation for some of these roles. I mean, they go through a lot, but I mean, I could never be an actor, but I know what it's like to be in love with something that you do and you commit every bit of your energy and lack of sleep to that. So, you know, congrats to all the winners and amazing. And coming off the time change too, I will say my highlight this week has been being up to watch the sunrise. I hate that I hate the time change because the lack of sleep, but the sunrises have been beautiful this week if you've enjoyed them.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Let's talk about God's word, shall we? We'll go to Mark 4:9. And he said to them, who has ears to hear, let them hear. You know, it's talking about how God speaks to us.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's not like Moses, you know, like the movies, it's most of the time a big booming voice. It's a gentle whisper. And I used to think, oh, what are they talking about? But it's that impression on your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to a lot of new believers. We've had a lot of people on the streets getting saved lately. Yay. And they don't understand that the Holy Spirit has come to reside in them and that they can be sensitive to that if they'll just stop and listen. And one little guy this week was just stunned. He said, really? He's going to be talking to me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah. Well, and when I know the older I get, you know, the more at peace and at chill that I want to be. And I love that because the longer we listen in for the whisper of God, the more it helps us to clear out the clutter and all the other excess noise that, you know, we think we either need or that even the enemy tries to throw at us, so that it's louder than God's whispers, which is always my prayer. God, let your whispers be louder than the world. And if that can, you know, because I want to hear him above, so that even when the clatter's going on, I can still hear him go, stop. Or, oh, you know, what is it that I need to be hearing from him? I don't want to miss it.
Well, when I first met you, you were like, and God said this, and God told me this, and I did this, and then God did that, and then God thought this. I thought, this guy's really close. It just encouraged me. I thought, I can dig in. And I used to think I don't want to bother God with minute things.
Right.
I mean, I know that's silly because God cares about all kinds of things.
Sure.
He cares about us.
Well,
but I would think, well, he's busy with him.
He is busy. You are right. But the thing is, he does care about all the little things, right? You know, the nuances. And you know, one of the ways I see that is in my marriage, you know, the things about my wife that I never even thought that I needed or even prayed for, he provided. And now I see why I needed them and how much more at peace I am within my relationship with her because of it. And then that's a reminder in other areas when things are blossoming or things are, you know, growing in directions that I'm like, Lord, is this you? You know, I don't want to get in the way. And I think it's okay for us to ask about those little things or even be surprised and joyful, thankful. Like, Lord, thank you for the thing I didn't know that I needed to pray for, you know, because he's going to provide for it, you know?
That's really good. Well, a guy who prays all the time, especially loves to pray with his customers, is Turan Newell, the Birmingham Mortgage Group. You know, I met his wife many, many years ago through Bible study and then met him. And very active churchgoers, the cutest family, but a heart for God, which turns into a heart for people. And I think his ability to deal with people who have a lot of money, can afford whatever they want, down to people who really have a dream and don't know with their credit how to get there. He enjoys making it happen for everybody.
Yeah. So, of course, when you set up your appointment, Birmingham Mortgage Group, here's the cool part. Turin and his team, they now are working alongside builders Smith Douglas to be able to provide you with great price points on homes that you didn't think you could afford. So find out what that is all about. And now not only doing mortgages in Alabama, but also in the Sunshine State. So welcome in all of our families in Florida. And you can find out more when you go to bhammortgage.com or call him at 205-259-1656.
Well, this next story just reminded me so much of you, Ace, being a musician, playing so many instruments. Music is such a major part of your life. All of the most common misheard lyrics.
Yeah.
And some of these are laugh out loud funny. What people think songs are saying.
Well, and it's funny too, because when you have sung them wrong for so long, when you know the actual lyric, you're like, that's not right.
All right. We built this city. You know what people think it is? We built this city on sausage rolls.
Now, I hate that song anyway, so whatever that lyric needs to be for people to like it, make it your own. But I was like, every time that song comes on, we built this city on rock and roll. No, you didn't, and not with this one. Like, come on. So it's all good.
And then the Beatles, when people mess the Beatles up, I know that's hurtful to you. I want to hold your hand. People say, I want to hold your hand.
Oh my goodness. Well, and back in the days when, music was all in mono, everything got, super compressed and, muddled down. So I can understand why certain eras were a little harder to understand than, maybe today's songs.
Then Bon Jovi, I love Bon Jovi. It doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. What people think is, it doesn't make a difference if we're naked or not.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Maybe in the 80s it was a big, maybe that's the thing is, everything was decadent, back then. Oh my goodness. The one that always cracked me up was Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze, excuse me while I kiss this guy. Not excuse me while I kiss the sky, which is the actual lyric.
But who says excuse me when I kiss the sky? No one.
People who have been to Woodstock and are naked in a field.
All right, they're kissing the sky. They're kissing everything.
Pretty much.
That is so funny. There are so many hilarious ones. It just going through this list, I had to laugh out loud. Madonna, like a virgin, touch for the very first time. Makes sense, right? Only people here touch for the 31st time.
Ooh, Lord, help us. I lost count. We'll just go right on by that.
Move on. Okay. You never know what's going to happen on this podcast.
That's right.
All right. The things that people do in relationships every day that are remarkable, that are the glue, simple things, the glue that will make your relationships better. Is it gifts? No. Is it vacations? No. One of the small things is to make eye contact when your partner is talking to you.
I mean, it's such a big deal to me now because and this is going to sound awful. If I don't make eye contact with you because you're not my spouse or a dude, don't be offended by it. It's because it is such an intimate thing between Tawny and I. Like, to look into her eyes and to hold her close. I mean, that's a very intimate thing. We might as well be naked in that moment because we're being so intimate. We see beyond the eyes. We hopefully know each other's hurts, habits, and hangups at this point. But eye contact is huge. Like, and I get it. It's hard for me to have it with other people.
Wow, listen to that.
It's very difficult. So if I've never met you and I'm not making eye contact with you, I'm not being rude. You're just not my spouse.
Wow, listen to that. Wow. Okay.
So
they hug their partner often.
Yes. My wife will not even come down. Like when she comes to the end of the hallway, I'm usually the first up. So I'm sitting in my chair in the living room. She will make me get up to come to her. And then if anywhere in there, it's not like full hug for as long as she wants. Like it's not a regular morning. Like it has to happen.
It's so sweet. They pay attention. They make mental notes. I'll mention something that I want to do or something that I like.
Yeah.
And Wayne writes stuff down and he gets it. And then when he's just so thoughtful.
Yeah.
It's
I see that
sweetest.
in him. Yep.
Yes, I'm spoiled rotten.
Yeah, and people always ask, like when they see, for those that follow you on social media, they see like your date days and you guys do like 4 or 5 things and there's outfit and wig changes and all this. Like that's your detail because Wayne has like planned the whole day.
Yeah.
Like it's a full-on adventure. And I'm like, wow, like I'm tired. I need a nap just reading this post. So I love that you guys have set that tone and he has created not only in something that celebrates you, but he's consistent. Like it's, like when you're dating, like you do those things to win each other over and then you stop. Like, no, create the habits that you take with you so that you keep it going.
Yeah, he does a great job of that. People say, "Oh, you plan all these things." I say, "Oh, no. I just ask him, what am I going to wear? And does it require a wig and outfit change?" Because he will go, a date for him is like 12 to 14 hours. Seriously, it's crazy.
Love it.
And you make time for one another. And I think in this big time crunch of life, that it might be the number one now, because we got kids, 14 jobs, obligations, church, friends, parents that need help. And to make time just for each other, it's got to be a priority.
Yep. Well, and maybe for you, that means starting with something easy. So how about a cup of coffee? Get the Roxanne blend. Thanks to our friends at My Brother's Cup, that really kind of helps to add to the chill when you need to spend that vulnerable time with your spouse.
And they've got my yummy coffee now with K-Cups. And when you get it for yourself or someone else, you feel great, because not only is it, I think it's the best coffee you'll ever taste. I'm going to throw that out. I'm just going to say it. And not because I really like it and I picked it out, but because it helps the kingdom.
Yeah.
It proclaims the gospel of Jesus. It sends missionary teams out to proclaim the gospel. People get saved right and left. They say, "Oh, you're in the coffee business. Come into our country." And then boom, people are getting saved. It's awesome.
It's great. If you want to find out more, go to roxanneandace.com and order yours today.
The Father's love for you gives you the power to overcome every mistake, failure, and sin in your life. You live under the freedom of God's grace. We learn about this in Romans 6:14. You know, when I finally was able to grasp the concept of grace, people say, "Well, if you're too into grace, then you just think, well, I can sin and do it whatever I want, and then God will just forgive me. So, woo, let's party. Let's do this thing." No, grace is freedom. It's the unmerited favor of God given to you as a gift. And it just changed me. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's right. I don't have to work or strive for God to love me.
Yeah.
He already does unconditionally.
Well, and I love that when, for those of us that are parents, like when you hold your child for the first time, or even when you know that they're on the way 9 months before they're ever even in the world, you're in love with them and all the things that you can't wait to do with them, and to see them grow into who they're going to become. And that's only an nth of what God has in his love for us. And so I still remember, like it happened yesterday, the day my oldest was born. I couldn't sleep, so I'm literally looking at her sleeping through the glass window, and the nurse keeps coming out, checking it. "Do you want to hold her?" It's like, "No, no, no, let her sleep. You know, she's had a busy day." You know, it's like, but the feeling and all of the emotions and the bonding with the other dads who also couldn't sleep, and it's like 3 a.m. and we're all like, "Hey, that's mine, that's mine, that's," and 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 it is like when I talk to Lennon on Father's Day, I always say, "Thanks for making me a dad." And she's like, "Well, not like I had a choice in the matter." It's like, true. But in that, I love that, because it's a reminder to me that, man, if I feel this way about my kids, how much does God love me? And, and he shows me daily. I mean, and it's crazy when someone's like, "Well, I'm just mad at God because he didn't do da da da." Well, maybe he was protecting you from something. Maybe he was keeping you because he's got something grander for you. And again, I've been in those places where I'm like, "Lord, why?" But when I look back, I now know why. And now I try not to ask why. I just go, "What's next?"
Because you trust him.
Yeah.
He's faithful.
Yeah.
It's a journey, and we've got to enjoy the journey.
Amen.
All right, doctors are sounding an alarm. We think we're doing something healthy, and it's a disaster. And so I feel like I need to pass it along. Eating chia seeds, they're very healthy for you. They help improve your digestion. They ease constipation. But here's what people are doing. They are eating them just solid, like a seed, they're not drinking water.
Ugh.
And what it does is it creates an obstruction where they have to go in and take care of the obstruction.
Oh, no. Nope.
Yeah. It makes a solid rock that will not move inside your body. It can be in your stomach or elsewhere. and you're cooked basically. And I mean, there are warnings, and I thought, oh yeah, right. Who's doing this? It's all over TikTok right now. People who have had to go to a gastroenterologist and have it surgically removed.
See,
a pile of chia seeds.
Yeah, anything that's new within the last 10 years, I'm not one to try it because like there's not enough studies to show the effects, or I just like I'm just the good old fashioned days of just eat in moderation, exercise if necessary, those kinds of things. But the trying to find the easy fix, because the last thing I want to do is end up in the hospital or at the doctor's office, which is what I'm trying to avoid to begin with.
Yeah, it's not good. Now, I put flax seeds in my smoothies, but I'm afraid of chia seeds now. I'm like,
but even those in a smoothie, even if it was a chia seed in a smoothie, makes sense.
It'd be all right. But don't just eat them to eat them. Just FYI. Roxanne and Ace Unlimited, what a joy it is to have you here. And Ace and I walk around thinking, God is so good with who we get to meet and talk to. And tonight, our guest just blows my mind. I woke up this morning thinking this is going to be the biggest treat to our viewers and listeners all around the world. And Ace, I was filling you in, Larry Ragland, who you and I, Solid Rock Church, fell in love with. I wept through when he was on this podcast. I just did not behave. We love Larry, but here's Larry, poor Larry, introducing me to his friend and Cheryl, his wife, and I monopolized them because this man is a rock star and a legend, and God has saved his life from cancer. So we invite to the show a man of ministry of over 30 years. He's now taking people to Israel. He's preaching studies weekly. And what has he not done? He had a mega church here in Birmingham, was like, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go international. It's so exciting to welcome to the show, Pastor Mark Correll. Hi.
Hey, Roxanne. Thank you. And Ace, thank you. It's great. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
So, Mark, take us back to that day of your diagnosis, because I know for anyone I've ever known, that's the death sentence.
Yeah. Ace, it's really kind of interesting. I was first diagnosed in 2007, or actually 2008, with large cell B type lymphoma. It was stage 4. And over the next several years, it had gone in remission. Then it came back a little bit, like some lumps by my aorta, and it was gone up until about November of 2021. And in 2021, I had another regular PET scan at MD Anderson in Houston, and it was everywhere. It's all over my body. It was stage 4 again. It was in my bones. It was everywhere. My scans looked black everywhere. So they didn't have any. I mean, they could have given me chemo, but they came up with something new. It's called CAR T. And so CAR T was, they take your T cells out. It's called apheresis. They take it out, and then they wait about a month. They send them away to get re-engineered. As they get re-engineered, they come back and they specifically target the T cells in your body. So I had my apheresis. I had them taken out in November. And that December, I got COVID. Well, I was fighting stage 4 cancer and COVID without any immune system. So of the 13 people that went into UAB, the hospital, that had cancer, and they had about 12 of them died that had COVID. There was 13. I was the one who survived. But the survival was kind of interesting because immediately in January, when I went in 2022, I was really in bad shape. They didn't expect me to live then. They had put me into a seclusion because I still had COVID and I had this cancer, and everything was just eating away at me. They vented me. I was vented for about 6 weeks. I was in a coma. In that coma, of course, I was out of it. Interestingly enough, maybe for another show, I had about 8 visions during that coma, which were phenomenal. And I've talked about them. I preached them in local churches. But what happened was, my family went through a traumatic experience. They would watch my blood pressure go to almost 300. They would see it drop to nothing. My kidneys failed. I had a blood virus. I had my lung collapsed. My kidney shut down. They had called my family in several different times. And amazingly, my family is a praying family that pulled them together like crazy. I have 3 children, a son and 2 daughters who are adults, and they have kids of their own. But they came together and just prayed. They wouldn't take. The doctors were pretty much telling them, "This is it. It's what happens with COVID, especially with cancer." So it's pretty much you need to make your last statements to him because he's not gonna make it. A series of miracles, just a bunch of miracles. My kidneys had failed, one miracle, and I had not urinated for 3 days. And they said, "Well, this is what happens with COVID. He's just gonna, it's a matter of time." Called them all in. My wife, and we have a lot of medical people in our family. My wife had told him, "Well, what about what's the Foley? Is actually what it is. It's actually for your. I'm sure. Help me out. My, no, what they had was they're looking to do an ultrasound because the Foley may have been moved." And they said, no, no. Well, they did the ultrasound. The Foley for the catheter was moved. That's the word I'm trying to find. Was moved. And when they put it in place, I urinated and my kidneys were fine. So that would have killed me right there, other than the other things. In the meantime, they gave me a lot of medication. They gave me something called Levo. Anybody that's medical and medical profession would know that. It's to take your blood from your extremities and put it towards your heart, your lungs, and your brain so that you wouldn't die or have brain damage, which they thought I could have had. And they did that. And when they did that, it made my toes necrotic. They became black. And basically, they were just dead. And so, of course, I lived, and they had to yell at me to get me back out of my coma because, again, they thought my brain would have been gone. And they did brain scan tests, and obviously my brain was fine. I was totally paralyzed. I went into rehab, and when I was in rehab, I couldn't lift my finger. I couldn't lift anything. And in rehab, my wife, she's my rock. She came in for 7, 8 hours a day and just rehabbed me. Basically, they have 1 hour rehab, and I said I'm not going to do that. I was highly motivated, and she was just rehabbing me all the way down the line, and I start moving. And so as I start moving, I stayed there probably about a month and a half. They thought I would be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, or at least a walker. But I didn't need. I would need a wheelchair for about a week. The walker lasted about 2 weeks. Then they said I'd be in a cane the rest of my life. And I don't have a cane. I just walk. Now, what happened was after I got out, I still had to get my cells put back in me. I still had cancer, and
Right.
so even though I was walking, I had to get my toes totally amputated. They amputated my first foot, first 5 toes. I believe that was in June of 2022. Of course, I had to wait. I was hopping around just everywhere I was going, and I had to wait till they healed. And then they operated the next set of toes in September of 2022. Well, I was running out of time. Those cells that they had already sent back and had been re-engineered are only good for a year. After a year, if they would have put me, they wouldn't be able to give them to me. Unbeknownst to me at the time, my doctor at MD Anderson became a personal friend, was telling me that later on told me that his group of doctors said we're not going to give him the T cells, and they said he's too weak, he'll die. He said if you don't give him, he'll die because the cancer was rampant in my body. And so I had to wait till all my toes healed. I had a month left, so they brought this little bag, and I had to stay down to MD Anderson for 50 days. I had to stay there, my wife and I, and they brought this little bag in, and they said about that big, and they said you may want to take a picture of this. That's $1 million. So the bag of cells that he put back in me was cost $1 million just for the bag of cells. And they didn't know whether it would work. Another miracle. Before I had the cells put in me, my doctor took another PET scan. He said, your cancer is everywhere. He said, I'm afraid we can't give it to you. That CAR T will not work. It won't be effective because you have too much cancer. So I'm going to give you 2 drugs to mitigate some of the cancer, just to take a little bit away. So he gave me the 2 drugs. I was in the hospital. A week later, they did another PET scan, and all the cancer was gone just from these 2 drugs. So he was blown away. And I said, well, does this mean I don't need the CAR T? Because it's very, very touchy. When you get this CAR T, you can go. I mean, it could affect your mind. You could have it affect your whole body. You could die. And he said, no. He says, I really want you to have this so this possibly will not come back the rest of your life. And so he gave it to me. I stayed there. They had to watch me. Your body goes into some really strange shocks through it. And mine did, but it lasted about 13 days. And I came out of it. And when I came out of it, they took a PET scan and my cancer was totally gone. 3 months later, they took a PET scan. My cancer was totally gone. 6 months later, I took a PET scan. My cancer was totally gone. My doctor, the last time I went to him, said, "This is probably curative. You have one more and you will be cured of this." Now, it's a very rare cancer.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting part. Had I gotten any type of treatment in those years from 2008, because my doctor wanted to do it, I refused. I said, "Let's just look at these lumps. Let's go back and forth and look at them." And they would go up and down. And he said, "Well, it's against everything I know. I want to give you chemo." Had I gotten that chemo, I would not have been able to get CAR T. So in waiting all that time, sometimes we wonder why God makes us wait. In waiting all that time, I became a candidate for CAR T, which came about in 2019. I would have been dead had I gotten something else before CAR T came around. So I lived long enough with that. Cancer was up and down till 2019 when they perfected CAR T. And now I am walking, talking, breathing, preaching the gospel, loving people, and just enjoying life. And it's absolutely phenomenal to me. All my doctors, every one of them, every place I go, say they've never seen anything like it. My oncologist from MD Anderson, who is tops in his field in the world, wants to write a book. And he said, there's 3 people that I've felt in all my history that I've seen, and they had, and again, this is not a bragging thing, but they had faith enough to believe beyond the normal and beyond things that would tell us it was different. And he said, "You're one of them." And I said, he asked me how I did it. And I said, "I just trust God. I know he's not done with me yet." And that's why the rest of the time I have, I'm devoting myself to preaching his word, to reaching out to as many, many people I can. It's great to be alive. We take it for granted. Every day we get up those mercies. It is great to be alive. And I've always appreciated life. I've always had an up attitude. But now every single day is such a blessing to me. And I'm loving it. I
How did
guess
the
I
Lord?
went through that pretty quick.
No, you did. No, you did great. How did the Lord help you through this?
Roxanne, people ask me that all the time. By the way, Roxanne, before I forget, your name means bright and shining and radiant. I don't know if you need
She
that.
is that.
I love that.
It's from the Greek. Well, Ace, you're not far behind. Yours is from the Latin. It means an expert.
Oh,
And so,
Oh.
anyway, I like names.
Expert in what? We're not going to say.
Exactly. So I guess to answer your question, how I got through it was, people ask me that all the time. One of the things, I didn't really think about the long range of it. My heart was to get through the next day. My heart was to have some progress. When my wife would come and give me the therapy, I was excited because I can now move my finger. I was excited because I can now move this hand. So I literally went from day to day, and I never was depressed. Some people get depressed. I was never depressed. I knew I was in tough shape. I knew that it was possible that I could be bedridden the rest of my life, but I never focused on that, and it wasn't a hyper faith. It wasn't anything like that. I trusted God. I knew that I had life and I had breath, and every day was obviously better than the day I just spent. So I was encouraged every day by his mercy and by his grace.
Well, and I know that there are people as we speak that have either been facing cancer for a long time or maybe just got a diagnosis recently. What do you say to them so that their faith doesn't shake, that they truly can see miracles like this?
I think as long as you have breath, Ace, no matter what you're going through, as long as you have breath, you have life.
Amen.
As long as you have life, you pray for life. I didn't pray for something to be wrong. I prayed for something to be right. So every day my heart was based on God, give me life, give me strength, give me health. I pray that today. We can't buy health. Health is the most precious thing you can have. And so every day I would tell people, don't give up your hope. The Bible tells us that in Hebrews, it says that we cast not away, therefore, your confidence, which has great recompense of reward. You have need of patience, that after you've done the will of God, you will receive the promise. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 35 and 36. So don't throw away your confidence. Don't throw away your hope in God. I know that the doctors came in. Let me tell you, they came in and it was one bad news thing after another. My family just got, he's not going to make it. This is happening. This is happening. And I don't know how they went through it, to be honest with you, other than trusting God. And I told my oncologist, again, expert in his field, an ace in his field, I told him, listen, you are great and I appreciate everything you do, but you cannot heal me. All you can do, a doctor can't heal us. They can administer, and thank God for their expertise, but they cannot heal. Our great physician is our great physician. He's the only one that can heal. So if somebody's out there and they're listening and they've given up hope, when you get a diagnosis of cancer or you're not going to make it through the night, obviously those things will hit on your brain. Obviously those things will make you think they're negative. you can't do it. You have breath, you have life. God can take anything. Look at me. He can take any condition and he can turn it around. And I trust him for that. And I believe everybody needs to do that has breath in life.
Little problems don't bother you as much, do they?
Nothing bothers me, Roxanne.
What a
I
great
don't
place
get
to be.
bothered by a single thing. I'm just enjoying my life, and it doesn't matter. The most important things in life are your family. It's God and your family.
Amen.
And I have those. And the rest of it is just ancillary. It's something that's just added on.
That's awesome. So, Mark, how can people keep up with what's coming next for your ministry?
Well, we are in about 82 countries. I have a Bible study that goes on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble, most social medias. It's on Wednesdays at 5:30. What I do is I do it in the news and prophecy. So current news, for the half of it, current news, I talk about prophecy. Matter of fact, Pastor Larry and I do that on it for him also. He told me that he got it from me, and then he's not telling anybody that he got it from me. And that's okay. But and then I go into an in-depth study of a book of the Bible. This week, actually for next several months, I'll be in Genesis, and it's very in-depth. So I've done Revelation. That's on YouTube. There's probably about 600 or 700 things on YouTube, preaching and teachings. Did Revelation Revealed, which is an in-depth study of Revelation. People keep hitting that. I think we have something like 60,000 subscribers, but again, in 82 countries, and God's blessing it. Recently, my wife and I wanted to give back, so we started a ministry in Pell City. We bought a storefront, and we want to help people, and so we are helping them with groceries, with food, with clothing, with anything that they need. So we're very excited about that also.
Wow, that is stunning. Mark Correll with a C.com is where you can go get more information. He's very responsive, super loving. Your wife is so impressive. Oh my goodness, she blew my mind. Mega couple.
Yep.
Just the fact that you would do our podcast means a lot to us. And we just want to bless you and just wish you the very best. We'll be praying. But it's just to hear about God's miracles gets me fired up.
And it should all of us. It's absolutely amazing. My wife and I, just real quick, my wife and I sometimes will just sit and she'll tell me, we'll remember one of the things, and it feels, by the way, a million miles away, but we went through it, and we'll remember, we constantly say, I can't believe it. God is so good. And he is so good to us.
It's great. Mark, thanks so much for your time, man. And we praise God for what he's done in your life.
Amen. Keep up the good work. I appreciate both of you and what you do.
So, what are you vibing on, my friend?
Okay, this is totally a part of my Lenten ritual. I gave up sweets because I went overboard starting from Thanksgiving into the new year, and I just could not stop. So I'm like, Lord, I'm done. And in my times with God, I'm learning of course, me being a musician, this makes sense why God would talk to me this way. It's in the tempo of our lives. And the song, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls by TLC. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Okay, that rhythm right there, that is life tempo. That's a sustainable, you're grooving, you're getting stuff done, but and so I've been vibing on that song all week because God is like that. While it's not necessarily an anthem or, lyrically, it's not like a woo, Jesus, or anything like that, but it's that, tempo of life that I want to be at. So after Lent, no matter what I'm eating, that if I'm in this rhythm with God of, okay, God, where are we going?
Okay.
Are we going over here? Because the main thing, and this, man, he said this so loud to me this week, don't let someone else's song mess with the tempo of yours.
Oh, good. That's good.
And I know we live in a day of, smash up songs where, Metallica and Huey Lewis are suddenly thrown together and we go, oh, that works. How does that, I mean, smash ups are fun and great, but when it comes to the tempo of our life and our love and the things that we should be doing, because we can't be going at Metallica speed and sustain that for any period of time. We need a little yacht rock in our life. We need a little bit of, open arms or something to kind of, chill us down, but to be at a pace that we can consistently live at Because my wife says this to me. She's like, do you realize that you exhale, like big exhale? I was like, I do. She's like, I worry about you because I'm like, what is so heavy on his body, on his mind that just is coming out of you? And I'm like, babe, I don't know, but hopefully this new tempo will be something that I can sustain that for the rest of my life at this point.
Well, you're an extraordinary person. You know, my husband and I were having a conversation today about the people who, when they tell you they're going to do something, will it really happen? It's rare. And you're right up there. Your excellence in everything you do. You just bring your A game. And I can imagine you need to exhale hard because you are on it. You're so real in what you do. If I were you, I think I'd be pretty pompous.
I lived those pompous days. I'm done.
Because honestly, the things that you do that are so magnificent, all this announcing and emceeing and doing the weddings and writing music and all the instruments, and you're the worship leader, and then they want to hire you in different churches. It's pretty amazing. And that's not even counting your radio career, award-winning all over the country on mega huge radio stations. I just think you're great. And I'm with Tawny. I want you to don't go chase so that you're around a long, long time. Okay.
All right. That's the plan.
I go before you. You don't go before me. Get this.
We go together. Okay.
From your big sister. I can't.
Like Rama Lama Lama. That's it. All right. What's your vibe?
What I'm vibing on really quick. It was kind of a surprise. We needed a change of pace movie. And Wayne found Anthony Hopkins in a movie called One Life. It is about a man who saved over 600 Czechoslovakian refugees in World War II from the Nazis. He did it basically single-handedly in the most mind-boggling way. And the end of the movie is so spectacular, a scream came out of my mouth. I'm glad we weren't in the theater. It is so good. It's called One Life. Watch it. Anthony Hopkins, his finger can act, so there's that. But
good. I'm adding it to my list. I need something to watch. There ain't anything on right now, so I'm down.
If you like Schindler's List, it's kind of like that. It's very emotional. Just wait till you're ready to have an emotion fall out.
All right. Good. All right. I'm going to get the tissues to be set. We want to thank you for joining us this week. Thanks again to Birmingham Mortgage Group and My Brother's Cup. And remember to subscribe, like, and follow so we will see you each and every Friday. Roxanne, have a great weekend. I love you.
Love you so much.
You've been listening to Roxanne and Ace Unlimited. To make sure you don't miss future shows, you can subscribe anywhere you like to podcast and catch up on anything you've missed. Find out more at RoxanneandAce.com. Roxanne and Ace Unlimited is a production of Spacebird Media.